Alright, sorry about that, guys. I just made a monster post on Reddit that took me a bit longer than I thought it would because I had to, like, film everything. Why is my hair so crazy right now? What the fuck? Let me just tell the Discord crew that I am live, and then we'll get started. Okay, one more step, and it's going to be dangerous because I literally have pictures of my dick up open on stream right now. So let's see, chat. Okay, whew, it's always a 50-50 shot. I didn't have time to set up the fish cam today, but I think they'll be okay. Besides, I didn't scrape the glass. So give me 1 second, boys. Again, I'm a mess right now. Okay, and is it this way? There we go. All right, so January 6th. Few questions already in the chat. My hair does not want to work with me. It's like a massive cowlick. What do you know? Anyway, I had a bit of, let's see. Hitman, don't be mad. I had another PR somehow ended up getting to 21 centimeters on Saturday, reaching 20.5 on Wednesday, but I can't get back to it due to fatigue. So you should probably just take a break then at that point, right? Like, I guess this is how my hair is going to be. I don't feel like going to get gel. I do have a hat. But, like, honestly, if you're that spongy, then yeah, you should probably go through with, or, you know, that fatigue, you're gaining that fast. It just kind of makes sense to take that break. Sorry, I had to, you know, get my face off a camera, or off the screen so I actually can look at the camera. Also, what are my thoughts on NMN for PE? I don't know the exact moniker or whatever supplement it is, but Hank was pretty high on it, and we were looking incorporating it into a few things. So it's useful for health. I can't tell you how useful it is for PE off the top of my head. Kyberg, why do you need to be erect before using the Hitachi pump? So basically, think about it this way. Your pelvic floor has muscles that control the ins and out of your penis, right? When you're erect, we know those muscles are open for business. So basically all you got to do then is just pull more into, like, fluid into your dick. If you have a closed circuit, you just are forcing more stuff in rather working with your actual body's, you know, mechanisms. Additionally, it's just more comfortable. I find like you get a lot less edema when you go in erect, and like you're already starting off with the tunica exerted to like its natural point, so like it makes it much easier to overexert it. Get the truth out. I'm using the PMP auto pump. Been doing 5 sets with 30 seconds break between sets. Do I need to be at 0 during the break, or can I stay around 4 kilopascals so I don't go soft in the tube? 0 kilopascals during the break, or can I say, yeah, I got that. So let's, first, if you're doing interval pumping, you don't need a break like that. So like if you're doing what I teach, which is like 2 5-minute sets, no, 5 2-minute sets, so 5 sets of 2 minutes, you do not need that break. Now, if you're doing traditional pumping and it's going to be a set of like 5 minutes, I strongly recommend coming out of the tube, going in erect every time, because it really limits edema that way. So interval pumping, no need for the break. You can drop down to just like 4 or 5 kilopascals for interval pumping, but like the machine should do it for you, right? Then traditional pumping, make sure you come out of the tube for about 2 minutes after every set to avoid discoloration. Okay, Hitman, as somebody who has melanin in his skin, how can you tell if you have petechia? Those red dots of bruising, it's hard to tell, to be perfectly honest. So your skin's going to get more ashen rather than brown. So like if you look at my dick, it's pretty like reddish brown because of like hyperpigmentation, but for you it's going to be like blacker because it's literally like the iron being deposited in the skin from the blood, and that's going to leave that kind of staining. For petechia, you should have a bit of a tender feeling to your skin too. And honestly, it might be just smart to take pictures of your dick and then have and like very similar lighting. So like, you know, if you have a very consistent light source in your bathroom for something, just take a picture of your dick, see how it looks every 3 months or so, and then you can tell how much more discolored it is. Colby. I use the Apex extender. I've never... Wait, I have a severe turkey neck from using the male hanger in the past. I use ball stretchers now and dabbled in foreskin restoration. Nothing really seems to help. Any tips? It just takes a while, dude. And like, what I've noticed is like, as I fix my turkey neck, my ball sack just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Hold on, my monitor over here wants to shut down. Okay. I have the remote next time it comes up. Anyway, but yeah, it's going to be a very slow process. The only thing I know that can really speed it up is going to use something like the foreclip, but I don't really want to tell you to spend $80 on a piece of plastic. So yeah. Let's see. I never know if I'm actually on screen, so I need to be turned this way so I'm not behind the chat. And let me get a hat real quick because my hair is bothering me. You know, I don't think I've worn a baseball cap since... Whoops. You know, I don't think I've worn a baseball cap since I cut my hair. And it is significantly less tight. So I guess that's a positive. Now, how about this? Then I can go. Nope. Have to be over here. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Again, I really need like 10 minutes to set up for my streams. So this comes here. And then I can move the camera this way because I'm sitting over here. Holy shit. Again, not a good day, guys. Or at least a very busy day before, outside of all that. Okay. Where were we? He's running late because he's doing a skincare routine. I think my skin looks like shit today. I don't know what happened. But no, that wasn't it. I was taking pictures of my cock and putting them on Reddit. That was what I was doing. Jack Hunter, I'm a girl. Okay, cool. I don't really know why you'd be here unless you want to like teach your boyfriend or husband. I know there are some like nurses that are into this, but you know. Hard Ice, does BD stand for Big D? It depends on the context. Like for safe for work stuff, it's big dude because I am 6'1", 210 pounds. That would conventionally be big, not if you don't think of obese people. And then with this, BD stands for big dick, and my Reddit moniker started off as just like a porn burner, and then it slowly got out of control. So sorry, I'm just trying to show off the gym gains, but my camera is not working with me right now. Devion, can stretching more so with stretchers cause nerve damage, or is that not a common case? The only way you can really hurt the I'm sorry, guys, I'm a mess today. The only way you can really hurt the nerves is with chronic compression. So like if you pull really hard with a really tight grip, so like that would be like a noose extender, I could see it potentially like a compression hanger, but you'd have to be like using a lot of weight that you're not prepared for. And then we can potentially hurt it with clamping because you're compressing it right at the base. But with stretchers in particular, no, like vacuum hangers, not really. You're probably going to damage gland nerves before you damage the actual nerve. So it's going to be a dulling of sensation rather than complete cutoff of sensation. But like most of the PE that we teach, it's not an issue because like we don't do enough weight or time to really cause that issue. Okay, I skipped Eddie. Okay. What's good, man? Routine if I'm happy with my size, and use the pump because I like it, and the D for the health benefits. So like you really only have to use it 3 sets, 5 minutes, like 3 to 5 times a week. anything more than that should actually cause slow progression in size, just because like it's enough stress to like growth stimulus that you should just see minor improvements throughout the year, but it's not going to be like traditional PE where you're trying to get an inch. You might get maybe a quarter of an inch in 12 months doing it that way. Okay. So, Enrique, I appreciate your New Year's message. Yeah, I need to figure out how to get all that content made. So, first and foremost, I'm bringing my wife on next month, and she's going to take a lot of the bullshit, as in, you know, like the day-to-day stuff that I have to do so I can focus more on content writing. And then if I didn't do a hostile takeover of getting bigger, I'd actually have time now to do it. So once I get caught up with all the stuff I need to update on getting bigger, I'll be able to start stuff like that. Mac, I build up pumping at 3 millimeters twice a day, 5 minutes, at a time of 2-minute breaks in between sets. How long should I pump at that pressure? 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters, I'm not exactly sure what you are doing. So like 3 millimeters of mercury is going to be nothing. Did you mean kilopascals by chance? Even then, that's going to be very low. So whatever you're doing, you're probably going to need more tension, unless I'm completely misunderstanding you. Okay. Eddie, is it bad to watch porn when pumping? Bad idea. So, like, I think the issue of watching porn mainly while pumping is that it makes it way too easy to play with yourself and not actually pump. So, I would say it's not ideal. I've been working on not consuming as much porn with, I'll be honest, not as much success as I'd like. But, like, in general, you can do PE without the need for porn. It just, you gotta like work on it though, obviously. And Jay Bet says, it's snowing where you are. It's actually not that bad. I'm like supposed to get 3 to 6 inches, but if you drive like 20 to 30 miles south, it's going to be 9 inches, and if you drive 50 miles south, it's going to be like a foot of snow. So I just missed it. It should start snowing here in like 2 or 3 hours again, but you know. Speaking of snow, so Wednesday, guys, I'll be going to Cleveland at like, I'll be leaving at like 3:30, so this stream is just going to be short on Wednesday, but I'll be back normally. And the only reason why I bring that up is because like Cleveland's right on Lake Erie, and it can get a lot of snow really fast, but it doesn't seem to get any from this belt. So anyway, just so you know, this coming Wednesday is going to be a relatively short stream unless I start earlier. Eddie, amazing manscaping. Losing some LBs is doing much for my DSPE hard and soft. So like, try to figure out how to word this. Obviously, I've been shaving forever, and like since I started losing my weight, my dick has been looking absolutely ridiculous. So if you like go on Reddit and like if you go at the mod jelk demonstrations, like 3 or 4 pictures, my dick looks like a fucking cannon, in my opinion, because of how much weight I've lost. And like, because, you know, it is like 9 inches long at this point. So like, you know, weight loss does help. It just sucks when you have relatively big thighs. Granted, I've lost like 1.5 inches, but like, if you just go to its foregone conclusion, like if you're 5'6", like 120 with an 8-inch dick, it's just going to look absolutely ridiculous compared to like a normal person. So that's how porn really gets to you, with those extreme body proportions. So DB, I can't get hard anymore when standing, only when laying down. What can I do to fix that? That's a great question, because normally that would denote that you have some kind of pelvic floor issue when standing up. So like you have obscene amount of tightness. Maybe spinal compression as well. So like I would actually go to a doctor and see if he can get some like MRIs or some shit down there, just because like there's so many different things it could be. We might as well like knock it off the board and like the simple stuff. So like if it's spinal compression, obviously that's going to be an issue long term without an immediate fix. And then if it's chronic pelvic floor stuff, if you do like any kind of hip girdle stretch, you should see some kind of improvement. And then there's also like neurologically induced like hard flaccid erectile dysfunction. So like if you're in a stress state and then if the only time you can get somewhat calmed down is laying down, you are not going to be able to be erect just because your baseline stress is so high, right? So like that was a terrible way of explaining it, but I think you get my point. Currently getting the lotion in today. I think you were talking about Recover P. Hopefully it somewhat fixes discoloration. I've noticed it makes my skin more smooth. I can't say that it's made my skin less discolored. Granted, I actually haven't used it in probably like 6 months because I no longer make it myself finally. So it's in stock in Texas, not here at HQ. But yeah, it's usually pretty good. I've noticed some improvements, at least of texture of the skin. Get out of the troop. After my pump session, I do 10 minutes of massage on the top of the shaft and the chambers on the side. Is that a good practice? I would do it before, because like basically what you're doing with that massage is actually pushing out all the fluid and edema that you built up, which is going to actually help with gains and shape change. So if you do the massage before, you can actually expand more in the pump. The massage might help with discoloration, but like you should not do like any deep compressions into the tunica albuginea. Just play with the skin more than anything else. And let me just check one thing, guys. Okay. Jabez, not a question. Just decided to take a long break from PE. Only take a week off and about once every year or so. Hoping this reset will lead to GURP games. Won't even do feeder sets. Like, dude, I'm telling you, like, I only took a month off this year. Like, what was it? November. And I really half-assed PE last month. And, like, I'm finally getting in the swing of things this month. Like, I've been scary big since I started PE again, to the point where it's almost too much for my wife, especially right after a session. Granted, I was doing some like almost fetish pumping with it, but like, trust me, breaks are like a night and day difference more often than not. Okay. Kyberg. At nights 4x5, 20 minutes of pumping in the pump can give decent gains. I ordered the Hitachi, but a memory arrived. I think you meant like memory card. But I want to use this because someone said the apex can cause bigger edema. The apex doesn't really cause edema. It's back or extender. So like your glands might get bigger, but like it's not going to cause edema. With a pump, it's going to cause edema regardless, right? 4 sets of 5 minutes is going to be just enough to start seeing gains as a beginner. You're probably going to need to increase that to about 30 minutes to 40 minutes over the course of a year. But main thing is like you probably want to add in some kind of massage mechanics so it's easier for that tissue to break down and not, or break down, you know, relax and then expand, so that way it's easier to get those gains. Now, wondering, ask, is Angio method that bad? I think it is severely overrated, and like any erection or any erectile improvement from Angio could easily be done with a penis pump or just by implementing cardio. That's how like overrated it is in my opinion. It's just the person who made it seem much more scientifically sound than it really is, but all you're really doing is causing a high blood flow event in the penis, which causes shear stress. So like any kind of stress to the genitals will cause some kind of strength adaptation, and that's all that you're really doing, right? So with a penis pump, you can get like actual tissue breakdown, which will lead to the same erectile improvement, but actually grow size at the same time without playing tiddlywinks with your dick. So yeah, if Angio method wasn't made by the guy who made it, I would probably be more open-minded to it, but the guy is such a prick that it's really not worth my time to even look into it. So Hitman, not Hitman, Waking Dream. I don't know why I said that, but 8.5 yesterday. Took nearly a year for 1/4 of an inch for this old PE veteran. Manuals and interval pumping with some vibration. Too scared to measure girth. Well, it depends on how much like pumping you were doing, but like I wouldn't be surprised if you put on more girth than length this year. The hard thing is, like, I remember that you said that you did like fetish pumping for a while and that kind of fucked up your edema response, but like the only way you're gonna find out if you gained girth is if you gained girth, right? You gotta measure. So I want to say I'm confident that you gained girth, I just don't know how much. And you do work for me, dude. I can send you like a vacuum hanging kit, no cost. So J Thunder, I found Swerve's soft clamp and extended tunica release method. Is this still an effective routine? I mean, it probably is. It's just like anything that's under like severe pressure, you should probably take with extreme caution, and that's going to be more for advanced people. Basically, if you are like, I don't exactly know the routine, but if you're either wearing like a cock ring to stay semi-engorged, or you're wearing a clamp itself to stay fully erect. So like, obviously wearing a cock ring, semi-engorged, perfectly fine. I recommend that a lot. If you are wearing an actual clamp and then pushing into your over erect penis to like, you know, cause tissue breakdown that way, that's a very good way to cause like a tunica rupture if you're not careful, and significant internal bruising if you don't break down the tunica, like actually rupturing it, right? So if it's clamping, don't do it unless you've been PE for like 3 to 4 years. And yeah, it's you just got to be careful. I'd have to actually see the routine to know what it's like. Hitman, been using the mail hanger and I've been nothing but what? I've been using the mail hanger and I've been seeing that I have to adjust it on and off, either due to girth expansion or just uncomfortableness. I really haven't moved up in LBs. That's kind of the reason why I don't use compression hangers, and it's going to vary from person to person. I know a lot of people swear by mail hanger. There's a reason why I sell them on Peak Mouth Physique, right? It's just some people just can't handle that chronic compression in the tip, and like I noticed that you build up a tolerance to it, but like when you add weight, the discomfort comes back. So just be careful. That's all I can really say. I don't know if you guys are fucking with me, but Jung Irvin, Apex Western Digital, size genetic extender, which is better? I mean, I have a few Western Digital drives here, but I can tell you now, they're not going to grow your dick. Size Genetics is, quite frankly, a terrible device for its price. Like, I can buy something very similar for $20 on AliExpress. So, like, by default, it's going to be the Apex extender. Okay, Constantine. Does the orientation of the Apex really matter that much? I have been using it upside down. Do I have mine right here? So, I don't know which way's up and which way's down, but I would assume this is the correct way with the loop downwards, mainly to keep your sack from being pulled forward. I would recommend doing it that way if you care about appearances, because what's going to happen is that your ball sack is just going to slowly climb up the shaft as you grow. Therefore, you're going to get a lot of skin here between your testicles and your shaft, right? So if you use this in proper fashion, keep your skin tight while you do it, it's going to work. That being said, I do it upside down a lot just because it's more convenient to get off and on sometimes. So like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter all that much. But if we're talking like purely like this is the best way to put it on, that's going to be the best way to put it on. Get the Truth Out says he's down from 370 to 329 and the appearance is very noticeable. Just imagine what it's going to be like when you get sub 300, dude. Just keep going. Trust me. For all you know, you got like a 10-inch hog that you're hiding with all that extra fat. And with the loss of fat, you could actually increase your erection quality a lot. So just keep going. Hitman. I usually have petechia, red dots, My skin is usually always sensitive during the days I do PE. I've noticed that since I took my week off and started again, I started to get more edema underneath the frenulum, kind of like the frog somewhat. I've been going low pressure. So that part is likely because like any tissue breakdown that you had healed up, so now it's harder to push out against, and since you're using the same pressure, you're going to fill up with edema faster. So the easiest way to fix that is doing some massage mechanics, get it nice and loose, and then you can expand much faster, getting less edema in the process. Okay, Mark. Crazy, but I love the little handheld vibrator for manual massage. I think he talked about this last time. It was like literally like a hand massager that you would buy off of Amazon, Temu, AliExpress, or whatever. If you ever had a warm stone massage, it's like that. So 2 to 3 minutes of pre-workout enough, getting angsty to get going. 2 to 3 minutes is usually enough. Normally, the way I see it is like at the beginning of your PE journey, you're going to need more massage mechanics because the tissue is going to be tight. And then as you progress, you learn how to relax the tissue, so you don't need as much. So therefore, you can start the actual shit sooner. So like, if you've been doing it consistently for like 2 or 3 weeks, you could probably drop down to 3 minutes because like you broke down a bunch of the tension already. Devion, optional pump duration sets and minutes for gains in the least oh my god, discoloration. So if you want to pump and not get discolored, you can't go for more than 5 minutes in the tube with pressure. You might be able to get away with 10-minute interval pumping sets, but like every time you come out of the tube, you gotta like literally massage the skin and do something called fire goat rolls to keep that tissue or that blood flowing, and that way you don't get that hemosiderin staining. But that's also going to limit expansion because like you're telling the lymphatic system to drain. So while it's possible, I think we should all expect some discoloration and then treat it after the fact with, you know, proper skincare regimens and everything else like that. Obviously, I don't want you guys to have a, you know, such a mismatch like myself, but with what I've been trying to teach with like my massage mechanics and everything like that and proper breaks, you should not be as discolored as me. It's more so that I'm just too lazy to take a break than anything else. So I got the Total Man vibration hanger and curious if there's a way to use vibration on a pump. I heard you say it can speed up results. Is this true? I mean, I think it's true. And you have a specific way to do it. So like, I don't exactly know how Total Man implemented his stuff, but like, let me grab a clean cylinder for this demonstration. So first and foremost, this little vibrator is a bit too small for this. It needs to be a little bit bigger, but I actually haven't been using vibrations for pumping. This is really good for length. All you got to do, put it against the cylinder, wrap it with, you know, whatever cloth or, you know, adhesive, and then set it to like, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 40 hertz and let it go for 10 minutes, turn it off for about 2 minutes, and then go again for another 10 minutes, and then you're done. It's really that simple. I've noticed a decent bit of girth when I add it in just strictly for pumping, but like I am much more focused on getting to 10 inches than I am 7 inches in girth. So, but like, yeah, it's going to be a lot different than the implementation of the Total Man vibration hanger, because it's like direct contact vibration therapy, which directly stimulates the stem cells to do more work. Any kind of vibration that comes from the top of the device is really just going to speed up fatigue and not actually like help get stem cell activation. And hello, Armin. Okay, so Tula said he just started PE after the flu. Did some pumping yesterday, got little dark marks on my glands and the frenulum. So I'm just gonna work with manuals with a girth band. So what you probably did is just burst some blood vessels in the skin, and it was gonna leave little dark marks depending on like your own complexion. So it's going to take like a week to 10 days to heal. fully, but like you can still do PE with them. It's just going to increase discoloration long term. And there's like two schools of thought to it. Like anytime you have any kind of breakage like that, you should stop PE and let it heal. And then other people are like, that's where games happen, because like you're actually causing some kind of structural change, so you should continue through it. I usually like are somewhere in the middle, so like you can do PE with it still, but you probably need to use less pressure because you don't want to be doing that kind of damage, right? Anthony, I'm at 5.5 girth and looking to get a new pump, leaving the bathmate behind. What size should I get? 2.0 or bigger for best results. So first, measure your base girth. Bathmate does a really good job of blowing the fuck out of people's base girths. Like, no joke, that got me up to like 7 inches base girth with the Bathmate. Oh, wait, no, it was 6.5 base girth, but like my mid shaft was only like 5.25. So like I gained like literally 3/4 of an inch with Bathmate at the base, not so much mid shaft. So just be sure you've gained at the base too. But if you are bigger than 5.5 anywhere on your shaft, you'd probably get a 2 1/8. You could get away with a 2.0, but like you're going to be at the point where you'd have to upgrade it very soon anyway. So like if you want to just get 2 cylinders, that's probably your best bet. It's still going to be cheaper than a secondary Bathmate. But yeah, I think I answered that. So Armin, I pump 20 minutes at 9 to 10 inches daily with no progress. What can I do? He's doing this for 20 minutes. So first and foremost, add in massage before you pump. Then you can try the cock rings to keep the shape, and that should be enough normally to like get it to stick around a bit longer. Additionally, something you could try is feeder sets. So like pump right before bed, so that way you can get more expansion, and then that expansion sticks around practically all night, so that way your dick is like kind of trained to be in that bigger state. So that would be my recommendations. Okay. Constantine, yeah, so I already have a good amount of turkey neck. Would orienting the apex correctly help alleviate that a bit? So like it has made a huge improvement of mine. And like I used to be the king of turkey necks, so like literally 60% of my shaft had some kind of scrotal webbing on it. Now it's probably like 25 to 30%. So like it's still there, but like it is much nicer looking. So yeah, I would highly recommend you just switch it around. Like the only thing that I could see being an issue for you is that it's going to be a bit too tight on the skin, and like it's going to actually be a bit uncomfortable to start. So like you could start with that flipped backwards, or fit, or start with it properly on, so the U on your ball sack, and then as it gets too uncomfortable because your skin's stretching so much, flip it around so that way you can finish your length session. Okay, tactic. Hey, BD, I was wondering if there were things you spoke about that helped you last longer in bed, so you could basically have full control, like stretches or something like that. So like I have the exact opposite issue. I last too long as it is. So like I don't really have any good tips in lasting longer, because like it has actually been an issue for me and my wife for certain parts of our relationship. Main thing is like you need to learn your busting point. So like when you learn your point of no return, learn how to slow down enough on your own, whether it be with like a fleshlight or your hands, to slow down enough to get that sensation to go away. So that way you can continuously pound without having to stop, and that way you can still be relatively an Iron Man, but still have like most control that you can reasonably have. I've also noticed that I get put into like a performer state. So like if I'm doing a lot of like, let's say aerobic activity, I have no like real sensation to come if I'm going exceptionally hard. So you could look at it that way, but obviously they'd be up to your partner if they're into it. Okay, so Having the hat on was enough to get my weird-ass calic to settle. Alright, back to this. Okay, so I'm actually off screen, so give me a sec. Doot, doot, doot. Alright. So Waking Dream would like to point out that the Peak Mouth Physique size calculator is fully working now. So first, let me make sure I have no dick pics open. But we're going to go to peakmouthphysique.com. And I'm assuming you're talking about the pump size calculator. Whoa, that looks a bit different. Okay, give me 1 second. So one of the things that is really important to me is that making it easy to actually size equipment properly. Display capture, this one. All right. So we have this calculator that makes it much easier for you guys to, let's see, there we go, to gain, or, you know, pick your pump. So like, if you are 5 inches girth, or 5 1/16, we tell you to be about 10 to 15% bigger. So we recommend that you get a 2-inch cylinder. Let me change this so we can actually see what we're looking at. If you want to save some money though, and let's say you're 5 1/4, so if you're over 5 1/2 and want to save some money, get a 15% bigger cylinder. That way you'd be getting a 2 1/8, blah, blah, blah. And I'm hoping centimeters works as well. And, you know, I was thinking about this Waking Dream last night. We could have just made it so that the pumps also had it in millimeters, because like I'm literally looking at this one, it has 44 millimeters on the top. So lesson learned, but thank you for doing that. If anyone's struggling to find their size, use the Peak Mouth Physique calculator. Like, it's literally universal. Most people use this kind of sizing system except for like Mustang cylinders. But all right, product plugs over. And like I said, my skin is really bad today because I was wearing that hat for like what, 10-15 minutes, and like my skin is just pocked up. Okay, TJ, is it normal to get a ring of dry skin? I put Aquaphor on it and it helps, but I'm just curious. So like, depends where. I would get a bit of dry skin like directly under the glands. I wouldn't like, and then my dick just gets dry occasionally because like I have dry hands and it's like sandpaper. So like, it's just gonna happen. So I would honestly recommend, especially doing PE, like to moisturize your dick 2 to 3 times a day. So like once during your session, once in the morning, and once at night, just to keep that skin good. And that way you can limit potential causes for erectile issues or drops in EQ. Okay, so Kalon, hold on, we skipped somebody, but we'll get to it. Kalon, 5 inches in girth, what cylinder size should I get? You should probably get the 2-inch. Let me double check. So you're 5 inches even. Yeah, 2 inches. Okay, J-Best, I tried vibration with pumping. I didn't think it worked, but I was probably doing it wrong. So like, I can't tell if you're doing it right or wrong because like, I've only done it one specific way and it worked for me. There could be many ways to actually implement it and it would work for other people, right? There's a reason why I haven't moved forward of making a product for it. So Tula was doing 45 minutes of Apex and 20 minutes of air pumping. My flaccid was huge compared to now. I was doing air pumping 8 to 10 inches in America using a girth band. Great expansion. Now I can barely pump. Just 1 week of flew, a lot of work away. So like, again, you are going to be stressed the fuck out for like 3 to 4 days after getting over an infection. And like my own experience, like I'm finally healthy. Yesterday I just had a ridiculously big flaccid because like I finally was able to get past like, you know, the chronic sympathetic state of being sick. So like, give it some more time. Don't really rush back into it. Just, I know it's very tempting, but it's actually detrimental to where you're at now. JB. Why we use a gauge on the pump and don't use a hook scale on extender? I don't think the markings are safe. I tried posting about it on Reddit, but it was removed. Well, you can try to post again. It depends on who makes the device, right? So like Apex spends a lot of time getting calibrated springs, all that jazz. I'm not sure if he still does it, but I remember him like testing every individual device individually to make sure they're calibrated. So I know it's going to be relatively safe, and like any kind of measurement tool can have issues with calibration, right? So even their fishing scale could be uncalibrated. So like, while it's a good idea to like cross-reference your shit, don't always count on it being accurate when you do it yourself. Like, if anything, you probably want to have 2 fishing hook scales if you want to be very particular, and then watch it on your own. But the only way it's going to be like 100% accurate is if you get, you know, scientific weights and hang instead, compared to using an extender, right? Hitman. On Reddit, I've been seeing people complaining about the curve and wanting to fix it. I'm like, that's a god talent. They want it straight as an arrow, and I'm like, I think they're weird. So like, I think having a slight upwards curve is very beneficial for straight sex. Having a slight downwards curve could do the same thing if you're a little creative. But anything like over, let's say, 25 degrees of a curve is going to actually be problematic for sex, especially as you get long, because you start really straying. So I can see why some guys would want to fix their upward curve. Okay, Papa, if I use the PMP pump for girth and I get an extender or hanger for length, would I be fully covered? Just about. The only thing I would recommend as well is getting some kind of cock rings. If you're really trying to gain girth, I just noticed in my own personal experience that the cock ring wear afterwards leads to, what is it? Leads to better shape change overall, which leads to better gains. Z Diddy. So I got the 2-inch cylinder at 5.75 because it said works up to 6.25. Is this going to screw up my gains? So worst case scenario, dude, you just got to get the 2 1/8 sooner. Like, I technically can still fit into a 2.0 and I'm like 6 inches mid shaft. Base is a lot bigger, but point being is like it will work, but like if you don't have room to expand in the tube, you won't be able to grow. So like you need a growing space, literally, to maximize gain. So like don't be surprised if like a month or two you need to get a bigger cylinder. So Hitman is only taking a half a dose of Fortitude. When do you think I should start upping the doses? Well, I would recommend that you just take the full thing, because that's what it's formulated to be at its like most potent. So like if you had no issues at half a dose, you could jump up to a full dose. It'd be very shocking if you actually had issues with it. So Sakurai Blue, Hank recommends pumping every day. How often do you recommend pumping per week? So high tension, or high pressure pumping 4 to 6 days a week. Every day, some kind of low tension pumping. So like that's going to be 70% of your working pressure. So my perfect day would be 20 minutes of high pressure pumping. And again, high pressure for me is like 10 to 12 inches of mercury, okay? And then AM and PM, we're going to do like 8 inches of mercury for 10 minutes a piece. So that way we get 40 minutes total of pumping with modulated pressure. So that way we can maximize the shape change and also get the tissue breakdown from the higher pressures that elicit growth. Tiger, how big do you think the non-bone press length of the guy Carl interviewed with megalophalus is? I don't know. You would have to ask him. I found that post a bit problematic, and I didn't really discuss it with him. But like, my issue with that post, I'm just being 100% honest with you guys, is that if someone that has like severe size image issues saw it, it could cause them to spiral. Granted, it was an interesting read, but like, there's some people in this community that they could really fuck up mentally because like they struggle with you know, their own body image issues and stuff. But I don't know how big he was. I don't remember the post all that well because it was like what, 4 or 5 months ago. But that's about it. And like from what I remember, he was never able to actually get erect enough to measure. So like, you know. Okay, JB, what do you think about starting a low weight and adding it to it every 5 minutes until I reach my max weight? You can do something like that, but like depends on what low weight is to you. Like I would probably start at like, I'm just remembering how I did it. So like I went to 5 pounds, and then the next set I did 7.5 pounds, and then the following set I did 10 pounds and held that for about 40 minutes. When my dick started getting tired, I'd do 7.5 pounds and then 5 pounds the last set, because you know, something that was marginally correct from Thunder's plays a couple decades ago at this point is the idea of riding out the fatigue, because that's basically as your tissue breaks down, your dick gets weaker. So you could use less weight and get more shape change by doing less weight for that time, instead of trying to do 12 minutes straight, or you know, 12 pounds straight for an hour. You probably wouldn't be able to actually pull that off. But like if you know, did that gradient, it matches more of what's happening to your dick. Nacho, can doing extending while flexing my pelvic floor help me because it's be more of a shower and better flaccid? So no, it would actually really fuck up your pelvic floor if you're not careful, because like you're basically pulling your dick out, right? And that's going to put a lot of pressure on your pelvic floor as it is. So if you Kegel and that's going to like contract your dick, all you're going to really do is sprain whatever muscles there. So probably the bulbospongiosis or ischiocastinous muscle. So don't do that. If you're trying to be more of a shower, just pump more often, and eventually that your dick will be like training to be in that bigger state longer. So get the truth out. Is using a fleshlight for 10 minutes after pumping good for shape change? Using something like that, it would depend on how big you are. Like granted, most of you guys aren't going to be my size, but like it could push away the inflammation and edema. So I would just recommend sitting with it for 10 to 20 minutes of a cock ring on, and then you can have fun with it. But ideally you'd wait 2 to 4 hours before you started playing around with it, just so that way that inflammation can settle and like the shape changing aspects of it start to set in with the metallomatrix proteinase release. So JB, about the hook scale, I'm talking about the one that is small enough to put between you and the extender during the set. So like the problem with that, anything digital can become uncalibrated very quickly. So like unless it has a built-in calibration option, sure. But like, again, I don't know how effective those are, and like they are relatively cumbersome. Like I'm thinking most of them are like 2 or 3 inches, right? So like, again, I have big bias, but like I would not be able to use the Apex with that on. So you go for it if that's what you're concerned about. But like I would be hard pressed to see a difference between the scales on the Apex and the what's on the fishing hook, like within more than a pound. So Constantine, I always pull the shaft skin forward, otherwise tension is on the skin. Should I have been stretching the skin the whole time? It depends what skin. So like, if you have tension on your ball sack proper, that means that you're stretching your ball sack. But if you're stretching the skin between your ball sack and your glands, that's going to help move your ball sack lower on the shaft. So potentially, depends on the context. Constantine, I've always, okay, we did that. Eddie, best way to shave the shack, razor trimmer, thanks. Balloons are hard to shave. And it depends on how loose your sack is. Like, I basically can't shave my sack anymore because of how loose the skin is. It's very hard for me to get a good shave on there. So you would have to, like, grip it with your off hand, pull the sack tight, and then, like, very fucking carefully go in with, I use a trimmer normally because, you know, razors can fuck you up much worse normally. And then just shave. Like, I can get the shaft fine. I can get, like, the scrotal webbing fine because it's flat. But once we get started close to my balls, it's not a good time. Oliver started doing manuals and had a sharp pain on the right side of my base. Stopped for a month. Started to ease back in. Any advice for beginners getting into manuals? Sharp pain right side of the base. That's going to probably be like some kind of ligament sprain. So the main thing is a lot of guys don't go slowly as they pull because, like, your tissue will elongate with constant tension. So it doesn't matter how slow we get up to tension, as long as we do it slowly, the muscle, or like more accurately, the tendons have a reflex that causes them to elongate and stretch. So that's what you want to do. So just go slow, pull slow. When you start feeling any kind of tension, stop for a second, but keep your arm consistently taut, and your dick should actually expand and elongate on its own then. Let's see. Hitman. You should... So me and Hank should do a collab video where you guys post on a Reddit and ask people how they got their start to pee, because I think that might help a lot of people start mentally and physically. I don't know if that's worth a collab video, but we will be seeing each other quite soon for business needs, so we'll see what happens. Nacho, is it recommended to pump after extending? I normally recommend pumping after extending because it's generally better to elongate the tissue and then fill in the tissue than to expand the tissue then try to pull on it, because, like, you have to deal with lymphatic issues, and then those lymphatic issues can limit elongation as well as make it a little bit more likely to have lymphatic issues. Did I say that like 10 times? It feels like I said that 10 times. Again, I'm a little off today, guys, so forgive me. Z Diddy. For those sessions, so the first bloating session in the morning and the actual working session and another session before bed, what pressure should it be each session? So, like, whatever your working pressure is, so for me that's about 10 to 12 inches of mercury. That's going to be the main meat and potatoes. You would know what pressure it is depending on how uncomfortable it is to pump at a certain pressure. And then what you do is, like, you do 70 to 80% of that pressure AM and PM. So, like, for me, if I'm doing 10 inches of mercury, I'm going to need to be between 7 and 8 inches of mercury on the feeder sets, the AM and PM sets. So, Hitman, in regards to the content with body issues, yeah, if I knew about this stuff 7 years ago, it already broke my deep because I'd be too fast and absorb into the science. So, like, there was no science 7 years ago. It was, like, I don't think anyone actually took the time to look at, like, physiotherapy and medical research other than, like, extenders and all that jazz, like extended research papers, to show why it works. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but Hank and I've really brought the safety profile of PE much farther than it probably would have without us, just because, like, we actually know what we're talking about. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So, Z Diddy, back to the pumping, because I have it at 35 kilopascals in the morning, and then 40 at the working session, and 35 before bed. That's probably fine. You might want to drop it a little bit, but, like, if your erection quality is still good for most of the day, there's no real reason to drop the pressure more than what I have. You know, there's no real science to it. It's more so that we just don't want to be chronically fatiguing the tissues. Sorry, my dogs are acting up. I don't think you guys can pick it up with this microphone, but I certainly heard it. So, Papa, What is better, hanger or extender, and why? I would give extenders a slight edge in overall effectiveness. Like, it has to be a high tension extender, like the Apex extender or Hog stretcher, just because it's going to stretch from the center because there's 2 points of contact rather than one, and it's just easier to be mobile with it. And then with the hanger, is much more cost effective because you don't need to spend, whatever, 150 bucks on the device. So like, I've gained an inch with the extenders, I've gained an inch with hanging. They both work just as well, roughly. It's just I use the extender because it is much easier overall to work into my routine, and I don't have to be stuck at my desk wearing it. So I can answer 2 questions at once. So Eddie asked, what the fuck is shape change? And how do you know if your 2 to 3 months gains are just EQ? So like, shape change and EQ both happen at the very beginning. Shape change is when the tissues are misaligned from just being in existence. You do not train your dick like you would, like, the flexibility of a muscle, for example. In muscles, as they are overworked and everything like that, the collagen begins to like meander and weave. The dick does the same thing from lack of use. So we can expect, as we pull on our dicks, the shape of the collagen in our dicks are going to be more uniform, and that uniformity is going to lead to like optimal length at your current size. That is shape change. So like, if you just started PE, you're going to gain a lot of changes in shape right away, and then erection quality improvements are going to probably max out within 2 to 3 months. So like, I can always guarantee you'll see some form of changes from just getting your dick optimal in current mass, and you're going to see changes in size due to erectile function improvements as well. So like, it'd be very weird to have one of each in general, because like, they both stem from lack of use. So like, if you stop using your dick, your collagen weave is going to meander a bit, and then your erectile function is also going to drop a bit due to like muscle loss and blood vessel loss, right? So Kenny, how much, or how about TENS unit for recovery? I haven't heard about TENS unit in quite a while, if I'm being honest. I don't recommend shocking your genitals, okay? I know they're very light electroshocks, all that shit, but like, that just seems to be overcomplicating PE too much. Like, if you're getting gains, if you still have good erection quality, there's no reason to rock the boat, right? I don't know much about it. I did try it once, but I ended up getting like a BDSM cheap ass toy, and I just ended up shocking my balls, and that was it. So that's a no for me, Chief. So Oliver's uncut. When doing manuals, I struggle to hold onto the shaft for a long time, so I eventually just end up pulling the foreskin down too, if that makes sense. Well, I still see growth. As long as the skin is taut and you don't feel like your hand moving over your glands and you're only just pulling the foreskin. Yes, so you have 2 options uncut. You can completely retract the foreskin, so that way you grip just under the glands with the non-foreskin skin. Or you pull your foreskin completely tight and grip where you should normally, and since all the foreskin's in front of you, you can't really stretch it anymore. So Dashatori says, all the information you offer in your books, like how much we should ideally pump and how much pressure. So the only thing that's probably not in my books right now is vibrations. And I probably didn't explain shape change as eloquently as I do now, just because I have more practice saying it. But other than that, it's all in there. And the best thing about it is, like, I can just go in and change it and change the explanation as I need to, right? So, like, the main thing is like, I don't really have a lot of hard set truths. So, like, for example, I say pump pressure should be between 5 to 15 inches of mercury. This is going to be the working range. You got to figure it out. And these are the things that you look for to figure it out, right? Same goes for weight as well. So JB, the hook scale I order is like 3.2 inches. I might need to replace the rods or find a smaller one. So if you're like using the Apex, that fucker's like 12 inches long. So like unless your dick's let's say over 7 inches, then it might be an issue. But like for like normal size individuals, it shouldn't be an issue to use like an external scale. Anthony asks, where can I get the Apex? That would be massivenovelties.com. That is basically on batch ordering. So that means like you go and put in the pre-order, and then 3 to 6 weeks from now, they send it out with all the other orders that came in because they have such a high order volume. That's the only way they can really feasibly do it at this moment. Okay. Is it better to stand or sit when using a mail hanger? Ask Phil my nuts. Every time. Actually, it would probably make a bit more sense to stand just if you're trying to avoid like lumbar issues. Because like what you have to do is like scoot forward to the front of your chair, and that's going to cause your pelvis to round and your lumbar to round as well. So like that puts weird pressure on your back. But like that's easily fixed with like proper stretching and everything else like that. So like it's not a huge deal, but standing is going to be like the most safe way to do it. Seated is obviously the most convenient though. So Jack, should I pump right after extending? Within 10 to 15 minutes is normally fine. At like any point, it's fine to pump. It's just I noticed when I pump right after extending, I'm a bit more sore from it. Like I literally feels like my dick's being pulled apart more because my dick's already been stretched out so much, and then we're over expanding along with it. So like I can only use like 80% of the pressure that I normally would if I didn't extend right beforehand. But like it's pretty effective normally. Okay, Dashatorius, would a fleshlight help me last longer in bed? Do you have experience with one? So like I have a fleshlight. It was more so to help me stop using my hands as much. It should help you in general. Like they literally have a stamina training unit that's supposed to help with sensory overload. So that way, like it is so good feeling and all that shit that it makes you bust fast. And that way, when you're in a normal woman, you're not as overstimulated. But like in general, like edging is very simple, right? You masturbate with whatever tool you desire. When you start getting close to your point of no return, that's the first step, is learning your point of no return. You slow down, and then you let it go away, and then you speed back up again and repeat for 10 to 20 minutes. I wouldn't recommend going more than 20 minutes because I think that's where actually like death grip starts to happen, that you get so used to that range that it makes it hard to come, or at least your sexual appetite gets so big that you just want more after you already came, if that makes sense. So no more than 10 to 20 minutes of edging with a fleshlight. Okay, Jack Hunter, opinions on look masking. I know it can be toxic black pill nonsense, but do you agree? If you want to look better, it's not hard. I mean, like, seriously, go look at my first couple YouTube videos here. I was probably about 28% body fat, no beard. My hair wasn't all that great. And, like, look at me now. So, like, I would say my confidence is a lot better now that my appearance is a lot better. But, like, I wouldn't say it makes or breaks my world, because, like, a lot of the shit I do for other people is teaching, and like my appearance doesn't really matter for that. Like my appearance matters more for marketing. So like granted, like I could be looking like a bum and talk to certain people like that, but like in general, there's nothing wrong with self-improvement like that. It's just like when you say it's the only thing that matters, and like I'm gonna break my fucking bone so my jaw looks bigger, is a really bad idea, right? So like I don't want to call it looks maxing or look maxing. I just want to call it self-improvement and focusing on that kind of shit. Okay, so I got the PMP pump and it works fine. I try to do 5-minute sets at 100 to 200 pressure, and like that's If you're using like the auto pump, that would be like kilopascals. So that'd be like 10 to 20 kilopascals. I'm just trying to figure out what you mean by pressure. If you're talking about milligrams of mercury, that's also safe. But every time I get spots and sometimes my urethra burns slightly, I don't pump too fast. Those red dots is going to be that you're probably using too much pressure. But like if you do pump up too fast, that's what's actually going to cause a lot of blood vessel breakage. So like pulse a second if you're using the manuals. With the smart pump, that thing's going to be pretty slow unless you're like packing the cylinder like almost completely. So like I wouldn't think it's from that. So like let's try to start at whatever you mean by 100 to 200 pressure at 150. See if you get those same negative side effects from it. And then if you don't, we'll try to increase it to like 175 the next time. If you get the pressure issues, okay, then we know that your working range is going to be between 150 and 175. Zode, I don't know even I've even seen your question. Yeah, wait. Hold on. Oh yeah, I just skipped the question completely, Zode. So the issue of using a pump cylinder too big is that your balls can get sucked in and it's very uncomfortable. And the other issue with it is that if it's exceptionally big, you end up actually pumping your fat pad more than you pump your dick. So like we got to be very careful with that because like your fat can hold a lot of water, right? So like we end up just growing our fat pads actually than we do our dicks. So like if you look at fetish pumpers, most of them are going to have like 2 to 3 inches of swelling along with their dicks when they do like full package pumping, for example. So that's the main reason why we recommend using a well-fitted cylinder. 1, so you don't fuck up your balls, and 2, so your fat pad doesn't get monstrously bloated. Okay, Zeif. Do you think an extreme break on like 5 to 10 years would reset individual gains to newbie levels? Purely hypothetical. Yes, but like those strength adaptations should come back relatively fast. If M9 is to be believed, he said he took like 10 to 15 years off of PE, and it was basically like newbie gains all over again. So I would go out on a limb and say that sounds correct to me. It's just like I don't plan on stopping PE for 10 to 20 years, so I can never tell you that's the case. Honestly, though, like 3 to 5 years should be enough to see like a complete reset. Even a year should be enough, like if we're really thinking about it. So D-Griff, why do we pumps lose pressure so fast? So like, it's a problem of all pumps. There's a few issues you need to look into. First, the white tip here, this actually just screws on and off. So like if it's not seated properly, or it's like the O-ring's damaged, so the little, the little rubber piece that actually makes the seal is, you know, slightly off skew or something like that, it can make it so that you don't get proper seal and then pressure leaks out from the tip. Then sometimes the vacuum connection doesn't sit properly in here, so like you just need to hold it at the right angle so that way it doesn't like stay somewhat open. And then if you don't shave your pubes, it doesn't work, obviously, because like it just allows for a little bit of air to come in. Last thing would be if the vacuum handle is bad, because sometimes they don't close properly, and like the easiest way to test that is like you can get a vacuum pressure with it, and then if you take it off, the pressure stays, versus if you leave the handle on, the pump pressure will drain very quickly because there's something wrong with the handle, so there's a leak in the system. But it's not just Lelove. I've seen it with literally every single manufacturer. What does hypoxia clamping do for girth gain, says Z Diddy? So hypoxia increases stem cell density. So like, not stem cell density, maybe it does, but blood vessel density is what I meant to say. So with more blood vessels, you're able to pack more blood into your dick, and that's going to allow you to have very good erection quality. Now, there's a delta between the amount of tunica albuginea you have versus how much blood vessel you have in your corpus cavernosum. So your tunica albuginea controls your maximum size, right? That's the size and shape of your shaft. Now, the corpus cavernosum is the pressure vessel. So, like, the closer the ratio of corpus cavernosum to tunica albuginea, the biggest your erection can be, right? Now, if you get more blood vessel in you than you'd have tunica albuginea, you're actually going to have very hard erections, like almost super physiological. And then the opposite would be that if you don't have enough corpus cavernosum to pump up your tunica albuginea, you're actually going to have some erectile function issues, and your erections are actually going to be softer than they really should be based off of how much tunica albuginea you have. So you should actually be smaller than you really are. So hypoxic clamping is supposed to help pack in that tissue if you're not pumping that often. I personally haven't done hypoxic clamping in quite a bit, but there is like a scientific reasoning behind it, and like it should work pretty well, especially for erectile function improvements within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Whoa. Is it okay to have a little bit of blood in the glands when closing the male hanger? I notice if no blood in it, it sinks down. So like, if you have blood in your glands, it's more of a comfort issue. Obviously, you don't want to have like your glands fully engorged and all that shit, because that's a good way to burst the blood vessel. But like, if you just have a little bit of it, I just noticed that your glands tend to get a bit more sore towards the end of the set than otherwise. But like, it's okay to have a little bit of it, but you should try to minimize as much blood in your glands as possible for safety and comfort. D. Griff, lasting longer is mostly about self-control. Exactly. So like, if you learn how to control yourself, it's like 80% of the battle, and then you can work on your actual sexual endurance, and like your physical endurance is very important too. But you know, in general, self-control is going to allow you to do what you can with what you got right now. Besides porn, healthy diet, cardio, and sleep, how to improve a erection quality as a young guy? Because honestly, mine ain't that great. Would L-citrulline help? L-citrulline malate should help. But if you're like doing a penis bump and everything else, you should be good. We do have supplements just for like erectile function. So like Fortitude, if you go look on the back of that label, all that stuff's going to help with erection quality in some aspect. And then Vigor is going to have immediate blood flow improvements, which will obviously help with erectile function. The only other thing that you could really look into is strengthening and rehabilitating your pelvic floor if there's any issues with that. So, all right, guys, I'm actually losing my voice, so I'm going to just answer Papa and Chuck, and that'll be it. I used the largest cylinder. I meant milligrams of mercury in my last comment. Yeah, either way, the way that I hopefully described it. So go to 150 milligrams of mercury, see if you have those negative pressure issues. And now let's see, my PP does press against the cylinder, but it's more because I have an upwards curve. And if you're not using a copious amount of lubricant, please do, because that's going to help with that issue. Like any like brushing against the skin could cause potential abrasions, so that could be masking like petechia, honestly. So lube can help a lot. And then Chuck M, what is a good erectile function focused routine for both morning and evening? So like, you really don't need to do more than 3 sets of 5 minutes of pumping every day. It doesn't really matter when. I would typically recommend doing it at night, just because that swelling stays around longer, and that should promote healthy erectile functions long term. You need to make sure you do some kind of cardio, zone 2 and zone 3, to like help boost your cardiovascular output, which is going to help strengthen your boners. And then you want to do something to stretch your hip girdle. So like, whether it be prayer pose, frog pose, butterflies, anything like that, that's going to help loosen your hips and then allow your pelvic floor muscles to properly work if they are having issues flexing and contracting. You could also look into like Kegels and everything like that. That is actually sometimes a bad idea though, depending on like your own current state. So that's going to wrap it up here, guys. I shall see you again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, Wednesday is going to be a bit of a shorter stream if I do end up streaming. But again, Tuesday, no issue. Hope to see you then.